Test 1 2, test 1 2, test 1 2, test 1 2, test 1 2. Turn them on. Test one, test one. Test one, test one. Test one, test one. Test one, test one.
Testing 1, 2, test.
Test one, test one.
Testing 1, 2, test.
Test. Test.
Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. Having received 6 aye votes, 2 nay votes, the motion carries as made. Testing 1, 2, testing 1, 2, test. Testing 1, 2, testing 1, 2, test.
Hello, everybody. Hey, Craig, where's Dr. McDaniel at? Okay, here he comes. All right. That's okay. I just want to make sure we were where we need to be. Okay, I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order, and welcome to all of you who are here tonight, and hope you enjoyed that Clara Luper unveiling of that amazing room out there. Craig, if you'll call the roll.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I'll go over the meeting protocols, then I'll call the roll, then I'll lead in the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. If everyone would please take a minute to silence cell phones, and please note spontaneous comments from the floor are not permitted. If you need to have an extended conversation with the person next to you or on your phone, please do so in the lobby, and individuals who exhibit disruptive or distracting behavior will be asked to leave. And now I'll call the roll. Paula Lewis.
Present.
Carol Thompson.
Present.
Lori Bowman.
Present.
Carrie Jacobs.
Here.
Mark Mann. Ruth Fields.
Here.
Gloria Torres. Meg McElhaney.
Here.
Thank you. Now, if everyone will please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence. You may be seated.
Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
I move. Second. Second.
I don't know who said what.
Yeah, who made the motion?
Carol.
Oh, thank you. Ms. Thompson made the motion. Thank you. And the second was Ms. Carrie Copernall Jacobs.
Okay, call for the vote.
Gloria, I'm sorry. Ms. Torres, what was your vote on that? Okay. Are you an aye vote for?
Aye.
Thank you. Having received 7 aye votes, 0 nay votes, the motion carries as made.
Thank you. That brings us to public comments, and we did not have anyone sign up. So, Dr. McDaniel, you're up for 4.01 Superintendent's Update.
Okay, well, thank you, Chair Lewis. And I know I say this every month, and as I say it, I represent lots and lots of folks, administrators, teachers, support personnel, community members, in saying thank you to our board for your continued leadership, particularly as we're going through this pandemic. So as you entered tonight, hopefully you had a chance to see that we welcomed the family and friends of Clara Luper to our building today as we continue to commemorate the great work of this civil rights giant to our board. I also want to congratulate a couple of members of our boards for honors that they picked up over the last few weeks. District 6 board member Gloria Torres. Big congratulations to you. Many of us got to join you as you were honored as a distinguished alumna by the University of Central Oklahoma. Mark Mann was honored with the Oklahoma Institute for Child Advocacy Award. So congratulations to both of you. Thank you for the work that you do and for the positive representation of the OKCPS board. Our friends at Fields and Futures recently completed a renovation of the baseball field at U.S. Grant High School. Many of you had a chance to tour that and see the before and the after. I'm delighted that the field was named after head baseball coach Tommy Cornish, who has been at U.S. Grant for more than 20 years, influencing and impacting the lives of our young people. We look forward to an official celebration later in the spring, but wanted to point that out that informally that was done. There was an unveiling of the sign just a few days ago. Talking about celebrations, I also want to congratulate the Capitol Hill High School Lady Red Wolves, who were named the 5A softball state academic champions. Listen to this. 16 members of the team who had their GPAs calculated for an average of 3.851 GPA, state champion academics. Proud of them, really proud of them. The Lady Spartans of Southeast High School were also regional volleyball champions. Coaches are doing great things across our district, as Valerie Bryant at Southeast was named the Regional Volleyball Coach of the Year. Carson Moon from Classen SAS at Northeast was named the Regional Cross Country Coach of the Year. And again, just an aside, we know that these two are being recognized tonight, but there are dozens and dozens of coaches and sponsors and others who, both inside the four walls of a classroom, but also outside the walls, are doing some exceptional things to impact our kids and their lives and their trajectory. So we appreciate all of them. On October 7th, Classen SAS High School at Northeast held their very first Fine Arts Festival with food, live musical performances, art galleries, all held safely outside on their lawn. It was a huge success, and we're told that the kids are already planning for their next event. OKCPS held its inaugural all-city esports tournament on October 23rd. As you all are well aware, we have an esports program at each of our high schools. Tremendous turnout when we had kids sign up to say we're interested in trying out, to the extent that a couple of our schools have two different teams because we had such a great turnout. We're excited to have launched esports in all of our high schools. This time, and the rest of them tell us that there will be a next time, but this time, U.S. Grant and Classen SAS at Northeast walked away with first place championships. And we look forward to expanding our esports programming into our middle schools next year. And so really an exciting time for those things that are in line with our board goal, which is to recruit and retain students, to capture their interest, and in doing so, to increase enrollment. Last month, OKCPS also launched the OKCPS Parent University Workshop Series for families, which is facilitated by the Family Engagement Department and the Office of Equity and Student Supports. In OKCPS, as you all know, we value our parents as the first teachers and advocates for their children. Each session is designed to help provide information, tools, and resources for families to carry out their role in supporting student learning and growth. Recent topics include mental health and wellness, how to navigate our Family Connect website and the parent portal, as well as in-person health fair at Cesar Chavez Elementary with our partners from OU Health. Many more sessions planned, so watch our social media channels or check out the schedule on our website. Just a reminder that November is Native American History Month. OKCPS is so proud of our Native American students and families. Did you know, for the board, did you know that we have 80 different tribes represented in our district alone? Each year, our incredible Native American Student Services team, led by Dr. Star Yellowfish, creates and shares some valuable resources with our teachers, with our families, and with our community. And I would encourage you, if you're not, to follow them on social media. I also wanted to mention that our school nutrition services team, under the leadership of Shauna Hall, continues to expand meal service opportunities despite major supply chain issues. Since we last met, we're up to 14 schools who are taking advantage of our new supper program, and teams are working to expand even more schools in the future. So for those 14, it is now breakfast, lunch, snack, supper, all free to all students. So hats off to Shauna and her team for continuing to push the envelope when it comes to taking care of kids. Just a few updates real quickly. A reminder, OKCPS has built in 7 asynchronous remote learning days as a part of our calendar this year. Today was day number 2. On these asynchronous learning days, teachers load assignments into Canvas, and all students log in to learn on their own from home. As a reminder, school meals are served curbside on these days. Families just need to provide a student ID. Next asynchronous learning day will be on the same day as our next regular board business meeting, which is Monday, December 6th. While we're on the topic of calendars, don't forget that students will be out for Thanksgiving break for the entire week of November 22nd through the 26th. Schools will be closed the entire week that week. The vote on the academic calendars for 22-23 and 23-24 will take place at our next meeting in December. We are continuing to evaluate the impact of asynchronous days for this school year before we determine if and when we will be scheduling any additional days for the 22-23 school year. If we do decide to add asynchronous days, and we will continue to gather input from our school community, but also from the Board of Education. As we evaluate, and if we decide to do that again, actually one way or the other, we will make that very clear to teachers, staff, and community, as well as the Board of Education, on whether or not we will continue down that road. COVID-19, as you know, OKCPS reports our COVID numbers each Friday on our website. As of last Friday, the district had 39 students and 11 staff members who were positive, for a total of 50, a significant decrease from this time last month when we had 138 students and 29 staff members who tested positive, for a total of 167. Our COVID task force continues to meet regularly, and we are glad to see our safety protocols continue to reduce the risk of exposure and possible infection among our students and staff. We believe we see this in our numbers. Many have asked if we have plans to pull back on our mask requirement as we see infection and positivity rates continue to improve. We are continuing to closely watch the numbers, and we communicate regularly with the Oklahoma City County Health Department, and our intent is to continue to follow our safety plan, which includes wearing masks until after winter break. Our 5 to 11-year-olds are on the brink of having the ability to get vaccinated. After we start school in January and we see what our numbers look like, we will consider loosening up protocols if it makes sense to do so at that time. As you know, we have a strong COVID-19 testing program that reduces the turnaround time from exposure to diagnosis. On Monday, the 25th of October, we expanded our free COVID-19 testing, making it available at our middle schools and high schools. This is in addition to the testing already taking place at select elementary schools, at the Operations Center, here at the Clara Looper Center, and at the Student Services Center at Westwood. Our expanded testing is available through a grant from the Oklahoma State Department of Ed. And I do want to say a special thank you to our OKCPS athletic trainers who really stepped up to help us provide this additional testing. If not for them, we could not have tested in the volume that we did. As a reminder, all OKCPS students and staff are eligible for free testing at any of our locations. A list of all OKCPS testing sites is available on our website. We're also continuing to partner with OCCHD to host additional vaccine pods for our staff members who may be interested in receiving the booster or the vaccine. In fact, we held another pod today at our Operations Center where we had more than 250 people signed up to receive either a booster or a first vaccination. We continue to work closely with our public health partners to explore ways to make vaccinations accessible to anyone who is interested, including to our youngest learners. We sent a short survey out to our families last week to gather input related to whether or not they would want their children, the 5 to 11 category, to receive the vaccination. We're studying that, and we will make those numbers available in the next few days. And again, because this is a hot topic now, and I've received a number of questions, I thought I'd just say it out loud again anyway, reiterating that Oklahoma City Public Schools does not require the vaccine for our students or staff. Bond update. Tonight we'll be requesting that the board approve the resolution authorizing the sale of 2016 maintenance bonds in the amount of $8 million. This sale will allow us to complete the construction of new playgrounds and safety vestibules as promised to the voters and improve working conditions in schools. So I've got 2 or 3 slides I want to run through very quickly as we continue the conversation about our bond authorization that is upcoming, targeting the 2022 school year. We've been planning this for several months, and we will provide updates and information at every board meeting moving forward. The focus of our next bond authorization will be to provide transformational learning opportunities for students in modern learning facilities so that we can meet the current and future needs of our students. Most people, I know the board knows this, but most people don't realize that the average age of a school in this district is 73 years old. That's the average age. And so we have to be strategic about our work to modernize our buildings for today's learning. So the next slide, let me kind of give you, I know this is probably self-explanatory, but on the left, you will see the student enrollment. That's our total student enrollment as of October of 2020. Okay? And that's how they've calculated our millage rate, which you see on the right. So you see that we are the largest school district in Oklahoma on the left, and you'll see that we are dead last amongst our cohort, which are the districts that you see in the millage rate. And you can look at that a couple different ways. You can break that down into how much each district spends per pupil based on bond funds. And we'll talk more about this as we move along, but I wanted you just kind of to set the table, because people ask why. The why question is really critical for us to be able to answer. Why are you having a bond election? And there are several reasons for that, and we won't get into the full presentation tonight. But we have needs in our school district. Our kids have needs. There are opportunities they're missing out on because of the data that you see here. From a bond authorization standpoint, the amount of money that we spend on our kids in our district falls, well, let me just say it this way, it is lacking. We can do better. As you know, the levy or the tax rate is what generates revenue by which we can go out and purchase things like technology, build learning spaces, purchase textbooks, the list goes on. Lots of capital improvement. And so we wanted to get this in front of you to begin answering the why question that we know people have when it comes to a bond authorization that will result in an election. So top of the heap when it comes to enrollment, bottom of the heap when it comes to the mill levy, the taxation rate, which generates the money for kids. And I think is that the entire presentation, Doug? Or there's one more? Oh, yeah. Okay, sorry. Maybe the most important one. So this gives you just a glimpse of the bond election process. You'll see that at the very beginning we have some general dates. So top left, creation of bond oversight policy. This board addressed that last month. And then we move through the timeline and you'll see that the dates disappear. And the reason for that is we are just now with the bond committee, with our chamber partners, with our financial advisor, we are really finalizing the full program. We have a couple steps yet to take, but that's what it looks like. So you can kind of glance at that and see some of the highlights, the big ticket items, if you will. And please know, I know you do, that here we have 8 different pieces along the timeline. There are probably 500 pieces. And we'll detail those out for the board as we move through the process. But wanted to give you, again, just kind of that visual that we will begin updating each meeting. This will be in front of us, and we'll begin updating dates and details for the board. And that concludes the 3-slide presentation, just to whet your appetites for bond authorization 2022. As a wrap-up, we all know that November is typically a month that we dedicate as a time to be grateful, thankful, Thanksgiving. And I know we are year-round thankful for the different things that go on in our school district. I want us to encourage all of us to take a moment to thank those around us who make a difference in our lives and in the lives of others. And we talk about this in cabinet often, that it doesn't take that long just to look somebody in the eye and tell them, thank you for what you do. Is there anything I can do for you? Hover just a minute to see if there is. But just to have that grateful heart, we are grateful in Oklahoma City, and we're thankful for the opportunities that we have. We know we have a lot of work to do, but we've got people in place to get the work done. I continue to be proud of all that OKCPS is doing to provide a safe environment for our students and for our staff to learn and to work together on our campuses, which we know is how the majority of them learn best. So let's not lose sight of safety as we move through these last few weeks of the year. And that concludes my superintendent's report. Would be happy to respond to any questions that the board may have.
All right, thanks. It was a great update. All right, let's see. Let's start. Carol, do you have anything on that end? Lori? Carrie?
I just want to say that I had the chance to go to the esports tournament, something I have never done before, and it was amazing. And it was so cool to see students interacting as teams and cheering each other on, and I had no idea. So I would encourage other board members to go to your high schools and check it out, because it was really, really awesome.
Nice.
Thank you.
Ruth?
Yes, I have a few things that I would like to comment, ask questions about in the report. The first one is going to be you said that we're now serving dinner in 15 of our schools?
14 as of Friday, yes,
14
ma'am.
as of Friday. Okay, how are we doing the distribution for the dinner meals? I know that the others would
Sure.
be.
Typically, it's a grab and go, so at the end of the school day, we will have teams who are in those 14 schools, and they will set things out so that as kids are released, they can pick them up as they're leaving the building.
Okay, and in that situation, I'm sure that we have, but I just want to ask publicly, have we notified the families? Because, sometimes, and I want to make sure that we're cautious even in that, giving the students the options. Sometimes students are ashamed, of perhaps taking a meal, and that may be something that's really necessary, for the family to have so that they can have a meal for the night. So, I'm hopeful that we have taken that in consideration as well, that,
I don't know the specific answer, but I know Shauna, and I know Leon, and I know Scott, and I know that they put safeguards in place to keep kids safe, keep them out of harm's way, keep the stigmatization, as you're describing, of, not allowing people to think certain things about them. So I'm sure that we've got safeguards in place, but I will sure follow up with you on that.
okay, and we say safeguards, but more so I'm concerned about the stigma. I'm concerned about the students not being able to eat because
Okay.
of the stigma behind
Okay.
that. That
That's
we
good.
have other stigmas that goes on, and because it's not on the agenda, I won't mention, but I know it will be coming up in the future meetings about stigmas in
Okay.
students. And so,
Yes, ma'am.
okay, and the second one is that I probably need clarification, the part to where we're talking about the calendars, and I think that I heard you mention that next month we're going to be considering some of the calendars, and we talked about the academic calendar.
Yes.
Okay. I want to say for the record is that some, probably the majority of the people that I see here, there are a few that are aware how the continuous calendar did come about. It came through the District 5 under my leadership through our community advisory boards, and that board was responsible for going out into doing research on the importance and how that we can do gains by having a continuous calendar in place for the district. I can say that because of concerns that I have, that perhaps a complete intentionality for utilizing when those breaks were in place on how we were going to take advantage of, that time as well. So, I'm hopeful that as we are looking at changing this back, and especially since we have just come out of a pandemic, and that we know even nationwide that students across the nation, and Oklahoma City Public School is not exempt, is going to need extra resources. And so anyway, I hope that as we move forward in that we look at all of these things and look at the research on how the intentions of having students in schools. We know that through the summer months, before going to a continuous calendar, and we had like 2 months, and that you had teachers that were having to spend the first month of school starting back to try to re-educate them over what they had learned at the previous year. So that was some of the reasons why that we pushed for that continuous calendar. So I hope that we'll take that in consideration as well.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, and the last part is that when you talked about the bond and some of the things that the district is looking at in utilizing this bond money for, and you spoke about modernizing for today's learning. When I think about modernizing for today's learning, is that, different students they learn in different ways, in different styles. And I've had the opportunity to go across this nation and to see the different setups in the different schools that are successful. And right now that we operate in sort of these, for the 100 and something years that we have been in place with the kids at the desk and all of in the desk that stacks or whatever, in the way that they do that. But we know that some kids, that they learn different. I have actually watched to where that you've had students on 3 or 4 different grade levels in the same classroom, able to utilize. And so when we're doing that, I would like for us to look at the spaces. And so all spaces, I know that that some of the hall spaces were used for education purposes. If the classroom got a little bit louder for the students that needed more silence, they were able to utilize that hall space. Another thing is the furniture. I've seen to where that they didn't have the traditional way that we set up the seats or whatever. There were bean bags that were used, for the students to sit around and to be comfortable. So as we're looking at the different ways to where we can, get the max out of this bond is through all of these areas, the furnishing, the spaces, and all of that. Thank you.
You got it. Thank you, Ms. Vios.
Okay, Gloria?
I'm good, thank you.
Meg? You say you're good? Okay. Absolutely. All right, then that concludes the superintendent's update. Thanks, Dr. McDaniel.
You bet. Thank you.
Brings us to bond committee report. Carrie, since Mark's not here, that's you, right?
Yes, I
All right.
will give that report on behalf of Mark. I want to say thank you to the superintendent for your comments on the bond process timeline, staff and community engagement, and we look forward to future discussions about our levy rates. On the board agenda for tonight, item 7.05, the board will consider action to appoint Amy Curran and Ellen Poggemiller to the School Bond Advisory Board, filling the 2 vacant district appointments to the board. The 3rd seat is currently filled by Tim McLaughlin. And then also on the agenda tonight, item 7.01, the board will consider action to approve the Bond Planning and Oversight Committee Policy C04. The policy was provided to the board for information purposes last month, and we're considering for approval tonight. And then upon approval, board members and the superintendent will have the opportunity to appoint individuals to serve on the committee for a 2-year term. And then the bond committee is meeting next November 29th.
Does anybody have any comments, questions on that report? Okay. All right, then Carrie, you are still up for Operations Committee and Policy Committee reports.
Operations is, we are going to start meeting again. We took quite a lengthy break because of COVID. We're going to start meeting again this month, and so I wanted to put it on the board's radar that that was coming up. We're going to be looking at traffic patterns, particularly around our secondary schools, crosswalks and crossing guards, and then also we're going to be looking at policies from Section C, which are related to operations. As we continue through the bond process, we want to look at those facilities-related things. Board Member Beals has brought up about looking at our purchasing and our company hiring and that kind of stuff, so we're going to be tackling those.
Okay, any comments, questions on that? Huh? Okay, that brings us to 5.04.
I do.
Oh, wait, sorry. Okay.
I wanted to make a couple of comments about the policy committee. Thank you, whoever put
we
these
aren't
up
there
there.
It's now. We can start
Carrie,
now.
was that you?
No, it was Craig, but we haven't started that one yet.
Excuse me, that was our legal team that put that together.
Oh, I'm
for-
sorry.
for the
That's
board.
right.
Thank you. So are we going to have more discussion about this?
Yes, I haven't started yet.
Beep.
Do you, can I go about, okay. So our policy committee had a 2-day retreat, and so I want to say thank you so much to Ms. Torres and Ms. Bowman for taking the time to do that. We took off work, and General Counsel Jessica Sherrill, Deputy General Counsel Haley Jones also took 2 days away in a very busy time to go through all of the G section, plus several other policies that needed to be looked at. In all, we reviewed 71 policies. And for those of you who were on the board, I think it was 2016 or 2017 when we did that huge overhaul of all the numbers and all the policies when Brandon Carey was general counsel. It's going to be a similar process for this because there are so many. So that's why you have these giant binders. I love a binder. So the policy committee discussed basically how to sort this information and present it to you. And because there are quite a few that just need minor legal changes, law change since the last time we looked at the policy. There are some that have very minor changes, which are just like typos, or some titles have changed because the district is structured differently. The third section is substantive changes, where we looked at the overall, like, is this really still relevant with what the district is doing? Is this outdated? Because there are quite a few that haven't been looked at since the Reagan administration. And then section 4 is deleted policies, and those are, anything that was in those policies has been folded into other ones, but those are ones that are going away. There are, when we talk about this G section.
When you say going away, that's going to be the recommendation brought to the board, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
We're
so
gonna-
it will come to the board for vote?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct,
Clarify.
yes.
Okay, gotcha.
So that's our recommendation as a policy committee. So 2 challenges that exist in the HR policies, which is that's the G section, which exists really across the board in our unedited policies, are that some things are duplicate. They're in multiple places. And then some things are really in the wrong spot. They really belong somewhere else. So the deleted policies, there's nothing in there that we have to have that isn't somewhere else. So basically they were either outdated or they really belong in another location or it's duplicate. And then we have section 5, which is no changes. So in your binder, and I appreciate this it's all printed in color so you can see the strike through, the red, and then the underline in blue is the new text. And you can see in the first 2 pages how those are all sorted out there. And because this is so much material, our legal team, bless them, has offered for any board member that wants to sit down and go through them step by step, or if there's a chunk you have questions about, they will sit down and go through line by line with anybody that wants to do it, whether you want to go front to back, or if you want to just ask about a couple of things or anything like that. They are willing to meet with anyone for however long it takes to get through these. And so we propose them as a big block because so many of the numbers are also changing because things are getting deleted or moved or combined. So that's what this binder is for, and it will be brought to the board next month. So this is our initial read.
So this is the information day today?
Yes, this is the information agenda. And so like any information agenda for policies, if you have feedback or things you'd like to change, just let me know or General Counsel Cheryl know, and we can get that ready for the December meeting. But also, if you would like an in-depth review, then their legal is happy to do that with anyone that would like to kind of
So
go
between
through
now
that.
and December 6th, that's when all this will come for action?
Correct.
Jessica, is there any way that you guys could maybe send out to the board some slots that were available so that people would be able to pick them if they wanted to? That'd be
That's a
great,
good
thank
idea.
you.
I'd like to
Okay.
ask something about this, to ask the possibility, because of policy making is one of the main responsibilities of a board. And so I know that there are opportunities for board workshops. And I would think that rather than for one and even wearing the staff out, if multiples have the same question, that if it were done in a workshop, that question would be able to, well, ask and also answered at the same time for clarity's sake, opposed to the fact of the staff having to be inundated with lots of board wanting to know. And I think that it is vitally important that the board understands and know the policies.
Yes.
Because, again, that this is one of the main responsibilities of a board member.
Yes, and that's what we discussed as a committee, is we really want everyone to feel confident that they know exactly what's being changed, exactly what they're voting on, so that it's not just, oh, let's just do this, and everybody's on their own. So I like the idea of a workshop, so I guess that's up to General Counsel Cheryl, what their timing is and that kind of thing. So thank you very much.
Okay. Gloria, did you have anything else to add to that?
Okay, now I will. So thank you for that. I was going to ask if, probably Carrie or Jessica, either one, if you can actually go through, okay, let me rephrase this. We took a lot of time to go through a lot of these, and we had a lot of discussion to try to just separate the policies, because one of the conversations that we did have was, this is why our board is here. Every last one of our board members is here to work on policy and to ensure that we are providing the proper direction for our district by way of policy. But when you have as many policies as we have, it takes a lot of time to go through. We talked about being able to provide this, in a format that was going to be tangible for all board members to see what it is. And then I missed out on the last day, so I'm glad to see you guys actually put it together in a binder and did the color, so that's really helping us get to where we want to be with being able to find a way for all board members to see what it is before we come to have discussion on the board, on the horseshoe. What I would encourage any other board members, if you can go through here and identify any ones that you have questions about, those would be the ideal ones for us to come back and ask legal to do a workshop with us on. Rather than trying to go through all of these, because we won't get very far on some of these, just because we'll just get in there, then we'll end up with a whole bunch that we don't get to. But if we can go through and identify any, I am more than happy to take some time and have some one-on-one conversation with anybody for the ones that I had some input on. I'm sure Carrie would do the same.
Yes.
But it's really important that we as board members know what it is that we're saying and we're expecting for our district to do. And this is what's empowering our district to move forward with serving our students the way that we as a community expect our district to be able to do. And so often, when I started reading some of these policies, I'm like, that makes no sense. Why would that even be in there? And, it's just things that have been there from, I'm pretty sure they were, in the vault you know, if anybody knew about the vault back at 900 North Klein. So there's a lot of stuff in here for us to go through. And so this is probably, and maybe it's because I'm old, but I think this is the best way for me to go through it, is just to touch it and see it and go through each one of these. So I just want to make that offer to any board members who want to have a cup of coffee, or anybody in the public who wants to talk about what the policies are and why we're going through them. I'm more than happy to do that as best as I can, as I know Carrie does, and I'm sure that Lori would do as well.
I'd like to add to what Gloria just mentioned here, is that I hear what you're saying, Gloria, but however, even with the responsibility of a board, and not only just dealing with the policy part of it, when we received, and this was today, I was reading what's on today's agenda, and I constantly I'm saying an uninformed board is an ineffective board, to the part to where, yes, it is a loss of information, and so we still need to take the time, not under the interpretation of another board member to another board member. It is to be able to sit and to discuss and to have the same understanding. Communication is when it is a meeting of the mind. And because you may interpret in one way and someone else interpret in another way, have we really communicated? Have we really come to a meeting of the mind about the thing that is vitally important, and our role is here for, is making sure that we understand the policy and making sure that the district is abiding by the policy that we say that we want them to abide by. I think about not only with a workshop may be limited, but it might be worth even having some type of a retreat, you know, and it may take every 6 months. It may take, you know, quarterly at whatever the leisure of the board is. But I personally think that it is vitally important to understand what our roles are and making sure that we're implementing it to fidelity in the way that we would want, you know, to understand and have that meeting of the mind.
And just to clarify, I think my point more was, we put it in writing so that it's easy to be read before we come to board meetings. Because if we wait until we have a work session to have somebody else read it to us, we're going to be here all night. So it's, you know, we just need to be prepared when we come to the board meeting, defining the ones that we want to discuss and not worry about the ones that we don't need to discuss.
And I agree with that, to the part of having this is a good tool for us to have. And if we are discussing a particular board policy, then we are able to refer back to that, because even if we do have meetings, well, sometimes we may forget what that is and be able to refresh and then be able to have the staff. But again, is that for the entire board to have the discussion and a meeting of the mind on what the interpretation and the intent, because intent for one is not always intent for another. So yeah, I agree, and I appreciate the fact of having that, even to go back. When I first got on the board, I had a book that they gave me about a binder about this large, and then no, you know, you were overwhelmed just by looking at something that large to even to start looking at. And so guess what? It was never looked at.
Okay, great comments. We will work on that. Is that it on committee reports?
All done, thank you.
Okay, excellent. 5.04 is school activity fund update. It's information only, but Mr. Meeks is available for questions, as is with treasury update and financial services. You have the reports and your executive content on that. Does anybody have any questions for Shannon? Okay. All right, and that brings us to the information agenda. 6.01 is consider approval of a proposed 2-year school calendar for 2022-2023 through 2023-24. It's information only. We can have conversation. We have some of that sitting up here on our desk and paper. And 6.02 is consideration of revised and new OKCPS board policies, but that's what Carrie just kind of went over. Does anybody have any comments, questions? Okay. That brings us to 7, special business, 7.01. is approve proposed provision renaming of OKCPS Board Policy C-04, bond campaigns to be renamed Bond Planning and Oversight Committee. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
That was me. Okay.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Call for the vote. Somebody's not popping up.
Having received 7 aye votes, 0 nay votes, the motion carries as made.
Okay. 7.02, approve proposed revisions of OKCPS Board Policy C-28, record retention. Just as a reminder, this showed up on information in October. So is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Call for the vote.
Motion was Ms. Bowman, and the second was Ms. Jacobs.
Other way around.
But it's-
I'm sorry, motion by Ms. Jacobs, second by Ms. Bowman. Thank you.
Got it.
Having received 7 aye votes, 0 nay votes, the motion carries as made.
7.03, I'll make a motion on the proposed 2022 schedule of OKCPS Board of Education regular meetings. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Call for the vote.
Madam Chair, I apologize. I'm having a technical glitch here.
Okay.
I think I went too fast for the computer, believe it or not. I know that's hard to believe. So the motion on the 2022 calendar of board meetings was made by the chairperson, Ms. Paula Lewis, and that was seconded by, I believe, Ms. Torres.
Yes.
And the clerk has caught up with the board, and online voting has been initiated. Having received 7 aye votes, 0 nay votes, the motion carries as made.
Thank you. That brings us to 7.04. This is discussion and possible action to adopt a resolution authorizing the 2022 Oklahoma City Public Schools Board of Education election. This is just a standard motion that has to occur in action for the seats that will be up for election next year. So is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any
And the motion-
discussion?
I had the motion by Ms. Torres, the second by Ms. McElhaney.
Any discussion? Call. For this is the election. Okay, call for the vote.
Yeah, I do apologize. The board doc system is kind of lagging tonight. I'm not sure if it's a Wi-Fi issue or board docs, but we did have a little delay in the information being presented on the screen.
Okay.
And online voting is open for the motion concerning the resolution for the 2022 election. Having received 7 aye votes, 0 nay votes, the motion carries as made.
Thank you. 7.05 is appoint individuals to represent OKCPS on the School Bond Advisory Board. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? Any discussion? Call for the vote.
Having received 7 aye votes, 0 nay votes, the motion carries as made.
Thank you. That brings us to the consent agenda, 8.01. I would like to pull this 13.04 bond resolution for discussion. We have Mr. Gander in the audience if we have any questions on this particular item, as well as we have Shannon and Leon here. So that would just be, just for discussion, but we vote not separately, correct?
That is correct, Madam Chair.
Okay. Is there any other member who wants to pull something for discussion only or discussion and vote separately?
I can, just for discussion, 14.03, please.
14.003,
03.
okay. Anyone else?
Yes,
Okay.
11.01.
11.01?
For
Okay, is that
discussion.
discussion and vote or just discussion?
Discussion.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, let's start with 11.01 first, as it's first in the order. Let's see what that is. That is approve a subcontract year 4 with the University of Oklahoma Board of Regents for the Gear Up OKC Opportunities plus Knowledge Equal College grants. What are we talking about? Let me know.
Well, I wanted to know if the same schools were going to be involved in the Gear Up program for the next 4 years, or will we be adding schools like the middle school?
Would you like to address that? Come right on up. I thought I saw you back there.
Let's get you over at this one, my friend. Yeah, please, thanks. Gotcha.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
We can.
So my name's Laura Buxton. I'm the Gear Up Project Director. And we actually are a 7-year grant program. We started in all of our middle schools in Oklahoma City with 6th and 7th graders. And we follow those same 2 grade levels through graduation. So we work with the classes of 2024 and 2025. Currently, those students are in 9th and 10th grade. So we're working with all of our high schools here in Oklahoma City.
Any further discussion or
Thank you.
questions?
Is that it? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for the question.
Thank you for what
Thanks,
you're doing.
Laura.
Okay. 13.04 is the bond election. Does anybody have any questions on that or discussion? Chris, you want to give us a little kind of any information real quick?
Madam Chair, if I could read the short title before he does that.
Okay.
Thank you. Resolution authorizing the sale of 2022A bonds pursuant to notice given under the Open Meeting Act. The Board of Education of Independent School District Number 89 of Oklahoma County, Oklahoma met in regular session in the Great Room of the Claire Luper Center for Educational Services, 615 North Classen, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma 73106, in said school district on the 8th day of November 2021 at 5:30 p.m. Resolution fixing the amount of general obligation bonds, Series 2022A, to mature each year, fixing the time and place the bonds are to be sold, designating a registrar paying agent for the bonds, approving the preliminary official statement and distribution thereof, authorizing the clerk to give notice of said sale as required by law, and approving other matters related to the issuance of said bonds. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Chris? You have anything you want to talk to us about?
I can just say, there it Just to sum that up, we're setting the date, time, and place of when we're going to sell the bonds. So we'll accept bids, I think it's December 6th is your December meeting we're coming to. So bids will be due about 12:30. Then we'll bring those bids to us at that meeting, and you guys will award the bonds and authorize the issuance of the bonds that night. So that's it.
Okay, thank you. Anyone? Okay, that's 14.03. Carrie?
I'm pretty sure I ask this question every time, and at some point I will explain the difference between, explain what an adjunct is versus like an emergency certified, or explain that again. I'm sorry. Sometime I will remember and stop asking.
That's okay. So a adjunct teacher in this case, these are all certified, full-time certified teachers in our schools currently, and they are teaching an additional section or two that is outside of their teaching certification that they have currently. So we have to go through the adjunct teacher certification process, but they are full-time certified teachers. So in this case, one of them is certified in maybe physical science, but they need them to teach one section of biology. So we have to adjunct them in that subject area.
So how is that different from emergency certified?
It's just a board process that you guys have to approve them, and then
Okay.
the accreditation officers check to make sure that it's been a board, that you guys have approved that, but they are a regular certified teacher. They're not emergency certified.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else? No? Okay, is there a motion for the consent agenda?
So move.
Okay. Who said second? Ruth said second. All right, call for the vote.
Having received 7 aye votes, 0 nay votes, the motion carries as made.
Okay, there is no new business. I did have one other question really quickly for Jessica or Craig. On the policies that are on information, is that available to the public? Are they able to click and see this? Okay, so we do have public transparency. I just wanted to make sure that we did have that available. Okay, and is there a motion to adjourn? That was Gloria. Is there a second?
Second. That was
Lori.
everyone?
Call for the vote.
All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion carries. We are adjourned.